It's not often that an NFL matchup feels like a local family reunion, but that's exactly what's brewing in Charlotte this week. Two teams that hold a special place in the hearts of fans in the Queen City are about to collide in a game that suddenly has way more weight than anyone expected a month ago. The Buffalo Bills, long considered the team of upstate New York, have a massive following in Charlotte thanks to years of transplant growth. And now, they're marching in a Bank of America stadium to take on the Carolina Panthers, a franchise in the middle of a surprising season and finally playing meaningful football in late October. There's real tension around this game, and not just because it's rare for both teams to be competitive at the same time. Buffalo is coming out of their bye week sitting at Quattro Vittorias and Duas Derrotas, but with back-to-back losses before the break that have raised serious questions about their defense, their offensive rhythm, and whether this team can actually make a deep run when it matters most. And right now, they can't afford to slip again. Not with Kansas City on deck in what could be a pivotal showdown for the AFC. They lose this game, and they're staring down a potential .500 record. That's not what this team, or their fans, signed up for this season. Carolina, on the other hand, comes in riding a wave of cautious optimism. They've clawed their way to Quattro Vittorias and Tres Derrotas, their best start to a season since 2021, and more importantly, they've found an identity. That identity? Run the ball, control the clock, and lean on a defense that's quietly becoming one of the most efficient units in the league. With Rico Dowdle emerging as a legitimate backfield threat and Chuba Hubbard returning from injury, Carolina's rushing attack has turned into a weapon, one that could prove critical against a Bills team that has been, frankly, abysmal against the run so far this year. But of course, the quarterback situation in Carolina has thrown a wrench into things. Bryce Young's status has been clouded in mystery all week long. The official word? Day-to-day with an ankle injury. But anyone who saw him standing off to the side during Wednesday's practice could tell he wasn't going to be suiting up. That means Andy Dalton is expected to take the reins, and while that might seem like a downgrade at first glance, it might actually give the Panthers a better chance on Sunday. Dalton has proven he can move the ball in this offense, and his veteran savvy could be exactly what they need against a Bills defense that's been inconsistent and now finds itself under pressure to prove they've made real adjustments over the bye week. From Buffalo's point of view, the pressure is intense. They've dropped 2 straight games in head-scratching fashion, one to the Falcons, another to the Patriots, and in both contests, the common theme was unforced errors. Penalties, turnovers, poor execution on key downs. That's not the kind of football Buffalo usually plays, and it's certainly not what you expect from a team that wants to contend. Sean McDermott, to his credit, has been lights out after the bye in previous years, boasting a perfect Oito Vittorias and Ninhuma Derrota record in those games as head coach. This is the 9th time he's had that extra week to prep, and it might be his most important by yet. The good news for the Bills? They're finally getting some reinforcements on defense. Michael Hocht and Larry Ogunjobi, 2 offseason acquisitions meant to bolster the defensive line, are both expected to make their debuts for Buffalo. And this isn't just a depth boost. The Bills have been relying heavily on rookies and practice squad players to plug the interior of their defensive front, with 60% of their defensive tackle snaps coming from inexperienced bodies. That's a recipe for disaster, especially when facing downhill rushing teams like the Panthers. Ogunjobi, who played his college ball at Charlotte and was the first ever draft pick out of that program, will be making his return to the city in a new uniform, and he's exactly the kind of veteran presence Buffalo has lacked this year. Hocht, an edge rusher who brings real juice off the line, is also expected to help contain outside runs and set a more aggressive tone early. But it's not just the front 7 that's getting shake-up. Safety Taylor Rapp has struggled mightily this year, and although officially he's been listed as dealing with a knee injury, it doesn't take a genius to see the writing on the wall. This smells a lot like a soft benching. Jordan Poyer, the longtime Bills safety, could be sliding back into a starting role, and his leadership and knowledge of the scheme might be just what the secondary needs to tighten up and avoid giving up chunk plays to Dalton and company. Now, look, it's one thing to talk about improvements on paper. It's another to go out and execute against a surging Panthers run game that has been steamrolling defenses. Carolina ranks second in the NFL in rushing yards and third in EPA per rush. They're eighth in yards per attempt, fifth in rushing success rate, and 10th in explosive run percentage. In other words, they're efficient, consistent, and capable of busting big plays. And they're not just doing it with one guy. Hubbard brings the speed and shiftiness. Dowdle brings the power and vision. That 1-2 punch has made life a whole lot easier for an offense that's still figuring out its identity in the passing game. Meanwhile, Buffalo's defense is sitting dead last in yards per carry allowed at 5.8. They've given up the fifth most rushing yards in the league, even though they've played one fewer game than most teams. They're near the bottom of the league in rush defense EPA and success rate, and they've already allowed a dozen rushing touchdowns. For a defense that was supposed to be championship caliber, those numbers are nothing short of alarming. And yet, as shaky as the Bills have been, there's always the Josh Allen factor. The Panthers haven't exactly been facing a murderer's row of quarterbacks this season. Outside of Dak Prescott, most of the signal callers they've lined up against have been inconsistent or unproven. That changes this week. Josh Allen ranks in the top 5 in EPA per play, and while he's coming off a couple of down games, we've seen what happens when he decides to take over. He's the kind of quarterback who can single-handedly change the outcome of a game, and Carolina knows that better than most. The goal here isn't to stop Allen. That's borderline impossible, but to limit the damage, keep him from extending plays, and prevent those killer throws on third and long that break a defensive spirit. That's why one of the biggest matchups to watch is going to be Allen versus Carolina's pass rush. The Panthers have been rotating up front due to injuries, but they've held up remarkably well. And while they've done a good job against the run recently, limiting the Jets to 81 yards, Dallas to 19, and Miami to 30, the test this week is on another level. Allen isn't just a threat through the air. He leads the league in scramble EPA, meaning he's most dangerous when the play breaks down. If the Panthers can't keep him contained, it's going to be a long afternoon. Then there's the emotional layer to this game that no one's really talking about. Joe Brady, Buffalo's offensive coordinator, was once seen as a rising star in Carolina. He was the man behind that explosive 2020 Panthers offense with Teddy Bridgewater, Mike Davis, DJ Moore, and Curtis Samuel, all of whom went over 1,000 scrimmage yards. And yet, a year later, he was fired mid-season in a move that felt more like scapegoating than a true performance-based decision. Now he's back, calling plays for a Bills team that's desperate for a rebound, and you can bet he'd love nothing more than to light up his former team. So while this game may not be a divisional clash or a playoff rematch, make no mistake, it matters. For Buffalo, it's about getting back on track before the schedule gets even tougher. For Carolina, it's a chance to prove they belong in the playoff conversation, that this run-heavy formula is more than just a hot streak. And for fans in Charlotte, it's a chance to witness something rare. Two of their favorite teams facing off in a game that actually means something in late October. The thing about this Panthers team is they're built for games like this. Ugly, gritty, physical battles where the trenches tell the story. That's been the formula in their 4 wins this season, and it's what they'll try to bring to the field on Sunday. With Andy Dalton under center, you're not going to see the same kind of improvisational magic that Bryce Young occasionally flashes, but what you do get is a quarterback who knows how to manage a game. Take what the defense gives him and keep the offense on schedule. He's not going to panic under pressure. He's not going to force throws into double coverage. And when Carolina sticks to its script, when they're staying ahead of the chains, that's where Dalton thrives. The question is, can they stick to the script long enough against a team like Buffalo? Because if the Bills get rolling early, if Josh Allen hits on a couple of quick drives and forces the Panthers to play from behind, it completely alters what Carolina wants to do. This offense isn't built to throw the ball 40 times. It's not built to run a fast-paced, no-huddle comeback operation. They need to control the tempo, chew clock, and wear down opposing defenses. That means it's not just about the offensive line creating holes. It's about staying clean on penalties, not getting behind the sticks, and keeping the defense fresh by winning the time of possession battle. And Carolina's defense, for all the credit it's earned this year, is about to get its biggest challenge yet. This is a group that's looked dominant at times, particularly against lesser competition, but they haven't really faced a quarterback like Josh Allen. Yes, they shut down the Jets. Yes, they limited the Dolphins. But Josh Allen is a different animal. He's strong, fast, unpredictable, and capable of throwing lasers 50 yards downfield off one foot. There's no real way to fully prepare for that kind of player. You can only try to contain him. And that's where it gets tricky, because Allen is not just a pocket passer. He leads the league in offensive scramble EPA, which means even if the coverage is perfect and the pressure is on, he can break the play down and make something happen out of nothing. That's demoralizing for a defense, especially one that's had to shuffle pieces around in the secondary due to injuries and matchups. If you're a step slow, he'll burn you. If you leave a lane open, he'll take it. And if you give him a second chance, more often than not, he's going to make you pay. The key for Carolina's defense isn't just about pressuring Allen. It's about discipline. You've got to rush with purpose, keep your lanes tight, and make sure you don't let him out the back door. That means guys like Derek Brown and Brian Burns are going to have to play smart, not just aggressive. You're not going to beat Allen with one big hit. You've got to beat him with 4 quarters of relentless, disciplined pressure, and that's easier said than done. But as dangerous as Allen is, he's not immune to mistakes. Buffalo has turned the ball over 6 times in their last 3 games, including some really uncharacteristic plays from Allen that have left fans scratching their heads. Forced throws, misreads, and some ill-timed fumbles have kept opponents in games and turned potential blowouts into losses. If Carolina can create a turnover or 2, and more importantly, capitalize on them, they got a real shot to swing momentum. And that's where this game might actually favor the Panthers. Not in talent, not in star power, but in the mental game. Carolina's coming in with house money. No one outside of that locker room expects them to win. The pressure is all on Buffalo. They're the ones trying to live up to Super Bowl expectations. They're the ones who can't afford another slip-up. For the Panthers, it's about proving they belong. It's about showing they can hang with the big boys. And that makes them dangerous. If Carolina's run game shows up like it has the past few weeks, this could get really uncomfortable for Buffalo. Rico Dowdle has added a new dimension to this offense. His vision, burst, and ability to finish runs with power make him a perfect complement to Chuba Hubbard, who brings the speed and agility that can break games open. Together, they've helped turn the Panthers into one of the most efficient running teams in the league. And they're not just piling up garbage time stats either. They're putting together long, sustained drives that demoralize defenses and take the air out of games. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. The NFL rumor mill is buzzing this week with what could be one of the most shocking moves of the season. Sources close to the league suggest that Marvin Harrison Jr., the star wide receiver who has been turning heads with the Arizona Cardinals, may be packing his bags for Buffalo. While nothing is official, whispers around team insiders hint that the Bills are making a serious push to land one of the most promising young talents in the game. Harrison Jr., son of Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison, has quickly become a household name in the NFL. Known for his crisp route running, explosive speed, and uncanny ability to make contested catches look routine, he has been the centerpiece of the Cardinals' passing attack since bursting onto the scene. Fans in Arizona have grown accustomed to seeing Harrison Jr. rack up yards and touchdowns with what seems like effortless precision, making the prospect of him moving to Buffalo all the more tantalizing and controversial. The Bills, led by quarterback Josh Allen, have been searching for a true, game-changing receiver to complement their already potent offense. Imagine Allen and Harrison Jr. connecting on deep strikes down the field or executing quick, surgical passes in the red zone. The chemistry could be instant, and some analysts are already speculating that this pairing could catapult Buffalo into serious Super Bowl contention. Of course, there are plenty of questions. How would the Cardinals respond to losing their young star? What would this mean for Harrison Jr.'s contract situation and the salary cap? And perhaps most importantly, is this rumor grounded in reality, or just the kind of tantalizing speculation that sports media thrives on. Those close to the situation insist that talks have been quiet but serious, and that both sides are exploring the possibilities with an intensity usually reserved for blockbuster deals. Buffalo fans, if true, should start dreaming big. The thought of Harrison Jr. suiting up alongside Allen and terrorizing defenses in the AFC is enough to get anyone's pulse racing. Meanwhile, Cardinals supporters are bracing for the heartbreak of potentially losing a generational talent. Whether this move actually happens or remains just the talk of the league, one thing is certain. The NFL offseason is already heating up, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is at the center of the storm. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.